Today we're talking about noise. What is noise? How is it different to grain? Can it be mitigated in Lightroom? Is the new AI-powered DeNoise function in Lightroom any good? And is it better or worse than Topaz AI DeNoise? When I'm taking theatre photographs, it's always dark, and invariably to capture the performers sharply, I have to push the ISO quite a lot, and I'm often up using 3200 or 6400 ISO. Now, the low light performance of modern cameras is absolutely fantastic, but in the days of film cameras, if you took a film with a high ISO, it's very likely that you are going to get a lot of grain in the images. That is necessary sometimes when you're shooting in lower light situations, such as in a theatre. But a bit of grain is often quite attractive. And if you look back at some of the classic rock images, they're often got quite a bit of grain on them. So from the outset, grain is not necessarily a bad thing. But in the world of digital photography, noise isn't the same as grain. Noise is an artifact created by the sensor. And there are two sorts of noise. One which is colour noise and one which is luminance noise. So colour noise is found where you have blocks of solid colour, and you may get a pixel which is different colour to the block of colour that you have in the image. So if you think about a red bus, the side of the bus is all red, but you may get the odd pixel which isn't. This is colour noise. Obviously it's very unsightly, but it's likely to be able to be seen quite easily, and it's probably quite easy to deal with. Luminance noise is variance of light, and you particularly find luminance noise in very dark parts of your image or very bright parts of your image. In the dark parts, in the shadows, you may get variation in the light which may appear as little hot spots, which are just leading to some degree of grain. And you may find the same is true in bright parts of the image. So let's jump over and have a look at a few images. Here is a theatre picture that I took recently. I want to go into this area here. If we don't have any noise reduction, you can see there is an awful lot of noise in this area of the background. The bars of the prison are very noisy. And if we look at the jeans and the jacket of the performer, these are very noisy. It's a very noisy image. Now, if you go into the detail section in Lightroom, you can see that there is a new denoise function, which is AI driven, but then there is the traditional manual noise reduction. And what you would do is you would pull up the luminance until such time as you got to a point where you were quite happy with the reduction in noise in the image. So here you can see we can take it to a ridiculously crazy level, and you can see all of the noise has gone, but also all of the detail on the face of the performer has also gone. So there is a trade between how much denoise you introduce and what you keep. And somewhere for these sort of theatre images, I find somewhere between 20 and 40 on luminance is about right. I usually leave the detail element about the same. In terms of colour, usually I bring that up to around 20. But it really depends on the particular image whether there is a lot of colour noise or luminance noise. Here's another image that I took at the theatre recently, and it's a really challenging picture. There are rows and rows of kids and the further back you go, the less light that there is. But if we just look on the front row, and you can see this performer here has lots of noise on her body. However, Adobe recently introduced the denoise function, which is this one here. And let me show you the same image with the denoise. Now I can look at it side by side. So the image on the right is the Adobe AI denoise version, and the one on the left is the original image with and the one on the left is my edit using the normal Adobe Lightroom sliders for luminance and color noise. And you can see the denoise function, the one on the right, is far better. It's also a much bigger image. It's been resized, and it makes for a much more likely that you can use that image printed large. So the new Adobe denoise function powered by AI really improves the noise level that you get in theatre type images. But I was really interested in finding out whether I could also use it on some landscape photographs. And back in December, I was walking on the Southwest Coast Path, and I took a 4-shot pano of Tryon Cove, and I shot it handheld at a ridiculously high 3200. But what I want to do is find out if I can remake the pano and reduce the noise, first using the Adobe denoise function, and secondly comparing it against Topaz's DeNoise AI. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make virtual copies of the 4 images. Then what I'm going to do is go through and for each one go into the detail section of Lightroom and press denoise, and that's going to take a few minutes while it does its magic. And once it's done its magic, I am going to repeat that with the other 4 images, and as it's doing its thing you will get a preview. So this is the estimated effect, and you can change the amount of denoise. I'm just going to leave it as standard, and if I click down you can see what the current image is like. So on the right is the Lightroom DeNoise AI version of the image, and the one on the left is the original image with a little bit of Lightroom's previous standard noise reduction. And if we zoom in, you'll see that it's light and day basically. The one on the right is far less noisy than the one on the left. So that encourages me to go off and try and finish this pano with the 4. It's taken about 5 minutes just to process that one image, so it's going to take a bit of time. So now I've got my 4 images. I'm just going to photo merge them to a panorama. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so we're going to merge, and that may take a little while. So I have denoised those 4 original images. I have combined them in a pano, and then I've taken all the original edits that I had on the image that I made back in December and applied them to the new pano. And this is the results. The 2 images obviously at this level look nearly identical. We do have a wheel of doom, but my poor computer is suffering today because this is a lot of hard processing. But if we go in to If we go into zoom into this house, well, it's actually a bus stop, I think, and you can see the incredible difference between the two images. So whereas previously that image that I made handheld and at 3200 was unusable, now we have an image that we could actually use. Okay, so I've downloaded Topaz. I haven't purchased it, so it's whatever it's going to give me, it'll be watermarked, but that's fine. I just want to be able to test whether it's better or worse than the Lightroom version of DeNoise AI. So I'm going back to one of my original images and going back to the original RAW file. Okay, so this is the original file. Haven't done anything with it. I'm going to right click. I'm going to edit in, and you can see Topaz DeNoise AI is there. So I'm going to press click. Edit with Lightroom adjustments. Well, there aren't any Lightroom adjustments. It's a raw file, so it will come up as per. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it's pulling up the new program. It's going to say continue with the trial. It's going to be watermarked. You can see here that the image is going to be trying to tidy up and sharpen the edges of the trees here. But you can see very clearly that the sky has been denoised very effectively. I don't know anything about this program. If I'm going to purchase it, I'm going to learn how to use it better. But at this point, I just want to see what it's like. So I'm just going to take this sort of standard set of adjustments and go with it. Frankly, some of those sharpening is probably a bit too much, but let's leave it as is. So we're going to save it with a watermark. And it's going to make it into a TIFF file, which hopefully I will be able to use to do this pano. So this is the version that Topaz has made. It looks a little bit different, firstly because of the watermarks, secondly because my white balance and my tint haven't copied across. So it's a greener, a sort of redder version of the image. But if we compare and contrast it with the version of the denoised version, so compared with the version of denoise within Lightroom, starting off with our house in the foreground, and I think you'd probably say that Topaz has taken out a little bit more of the noise, but to my mind the Lightroom version looks a little bit sort of truer. This one, the Topaz version, looks like it's sort of painted over everything. Let's look at the sky. Similar, but again it looks like the Topaz has taken more noise out. On the beach, yes, the Topaz has taken more noise out, but I think I want to take a little bit more time to see if I can tweak that. There seems to be, they've taken out more detail than I would perhaps like. And finally this house over on the right hand side, that the Topaz certainly looks like it's outperforming the version in Lightroom. So it looks like the Topaz may be worthwhile the money, but I think I'd need to work on individual images to find out how to tweak it. For now, I think I'll probably just stay with the Lightroom. So there you have it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to provide links to both, to all three of those photos. The pano without any denoise AI on it, which I use just some the light and color denoising in Lightroom. The denoise AI within Lightroom, the new function, and Topaz's denoise AI version. You can download those, you can blow them up to 200%, and you can have a look at the overall effect. As I said, I haven't used Topaz's one at all in the past. So I've just taken the sort of stock version of the settings, and I'm sure that I can learn better with it. But I'm just interested to see whether the new Lightroom version is a good enough for me. So, in conclusion, for me, the Lightroom DeNoise AI is free because I'm already paying for Lightroom and Photoshop. Topaz is about $80, and it's a one-off cost. Both these facilities are slow. It takes about 5 minutes on my computer to denoise an image. So you're only ever going to use this with a particular image that you particularly want to get rid of some noise on. So you would use it sparingly. In landscape, it's probably not going to be used very much. As I said, the only reason that I had those 4 images, which were handheld and at 3200, was because I didn't have a tripod and I was trying to save time because the light was going off and I just wanted to capture it while it was there. For sports photographers, for animal photographers, I imagine it's going to be a big win, particularly to be able to denoise, but particularly feathers and eyes and the things that you've seen adverts for Topaz. It's probably useful for that. And in theatre work, this is where I see the biggest potential, particularly for an image that is going to be used for promotional activities. I would denoise that probably using Lightroom. So there you go. I hope you found this useful or interesting, and if you have, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. Maybe think about subscribing. It really makes a big difference to this channel. We're trying to grow, we're trying to get better, and any feedback is really useful. If you want to leave any messages, I respond to anything and everything that is ever commented on the channel, and so please get in touch and give me your thoughts. Anyway, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, bye for now.